Hello, I'm Mike Mulligan. I live next to Vermont Yankee, 2 miles from Vermont Yankee. I'm across the Connecticut River. I worked at Vermont Yankee for 13 years, most of it as a licensed operator. I was was in the Navy on work back aft on nuclear submarines. So I have quite a bit of experience and stuff. And so we're going to talk about a little bit of looking back on my 2.206. What was that about? On the Pilgrim 2.206, and I had issues with they treated me kind of out of character and stuff, and I got ruffled a little bit, and I was always respectful, I think, and that type of thing. I did happen to record it, and it's on the internet site. It's on my internet site. And so they kept interrupting me. They kept asking me, they were telling me this is not appropriate, and when you're going to be done, and that type of stuff. They never done that. They just let me go for an hour, or no, 40 minutes. But they kept kind of, and 2 or 3 times they interrupted me and got me off my stride a little bit. And I'm a big boy, and it should take a lot to ruffle my feathers and stuff. And so I'll be better prepared to handle it the next time. But certainly that did happen, and it was out of character for the NRC. And so to go back, we're talking about the Pilgrim new safety relief valves. They installed them in the plant. They're having troubles with the old ones. They were not accurate and that type of stuff, old style, and so they went to this new style, 3-stage versus 2, and they ended up having 2 shutdowns out of it. 2 shutdowns, and it leaked 4 or 5 times. Well, 7 times. It had 7 different leaks in it. They had an assortment of restricted power operations because of the leaks. Usually around 80%, but some at 94% at different times. They've had to open the valve at power, and shut it. There's no harm in that, except they have to come down a little bit in power because of power to do this. A lot of times it's a half-baked measure. It doesn't do. It only gives them a couple of weeks at the most, and stuff. It might make it worse and stuff. And so the question is posed. Well, why all these leaks? And they ended up the operating cycle at restricted power at 84% because of these leaks. So why should you have leaks with brand new valves, nuclear quality valves? The safety relief valves, from an operator's perspective, is they operate. They get trained on them valves a lot. They use those valves are used a lot to control pressure and control the cool down rate and stuff like that. And operators spend a lot of time manipulating the safety relief valves. It's a big deal. It's the primary means that we control pressure in the vessel. It certainly has. It's used as a relief valve, an automatic relief valve. If the pressure ever got so high, it would automatically kick in, open up and shut down and stuff. And of course, so that's the nature of safety relief valves. They're very, very important to an operator's perspective. Somebody that's licensed and up in the control room, they spend a lot of time on their safety relief valves. So, a lot of this started with Vermont Yankee. and Peach Bottom, the Vermont Yankee discovered they installed brand new safety relief valves in their plant, and then within the first operating after the first operating cycle, they did a pressure test on the pneumatics, the safety relief valve and the pneumatic operator, air operator, and the threaded seal area was brittle and it was leaking, and that type of stuff, and it took 2 years and a lot of effort, a couple of 2.206s, a lot of effort to figure out what was going on there. When it was an operational issue, the NRC and Vermont Yankee and Energy, they strategically released the information in the LER over a course of 2 years and stuff like that to minimize the chances of the interveners catching on to it and making us think about it and stuff like that. So, it's not just, they don't have a time frame. Okay, after 60 days you got to write a full and accurate report, and then maybe 6 months later they got to do a follow-up report and stuff like that, and it's got to be full and complete. Well, no, it doesn't have to be full and complete. It could be a manufactured, and that's what we discovered at Vermont Yankee, a totally manufactured LER, especially in the opening stages and stuff. And so a threaded seal, they said it was temperature. The reason why they didn't, that they failed, or they were brittle, or they failed the leak test was because after the first cycle, 18 months, some of these valves last for many decades and stuff like that, and stuff. But as the first cycle, the threaded seals failed, and they said it was because the containment temperatures were too hot and wearing out the valves and stuff. And later on, they discovered that it was the wrong material they put in there and stuff. And then we later discovered, after 6 months or a year, that Vermont Yankee didn't. Target Rock told him, the story goes, that all we have is type 2 safety relief valves, when they should have been type 1 relief valves. Type 1 relief valves are good to about 230 degrees, the highest temperature, and they're I guess they're in an environment of like 130 degrees and stuff like that. Type 1 valves, really nuclear quality valves, are in the area of 150, 160 normal operating temperatures, a little bit more, and good up to 400 degrees. Surprisingly, that 400 degrees or 370 degrees, or whatever it is, that was the initial design of the valves. The asbestos, the nitrile asbestos stuff, the Buna asbestos stuff that they had initially in that valve was good to 400 degrees, and for some reasons unknown, they went to this Buna stuff, so the question is why. The most so the story goes, the contractor coached Vermont Yankee into accepting the Type 2 valve, right? And they installed it in the plant, and then they failed very shortly after that. We find out that a year later that there were a Type 2 valve, and they really weren't qualified to be in the containment. And that type of stuff. And the reason why they failed was not the temperature, because the temperatures are always kind of the same in the containment. The reasons why they failed is because there were the wrong material in there. They weren't. The materials weren't designed to be in 190 um, 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 being 190 environment and stuff like that. So they failed early, and so that's what happened. Because there's a type 2 that was designed for the environment of the containment, and especially in the accident conditions. When accident conditions, when a dire emergency, and everybody's really very concerned about the plant, you want them safety relief valves to operate, or you want them to stay open or stay shut when you want them to stay open or stay shut and stuff. You don't want them bothering the operators with malfunctions when you're in a bad accident and stuff like that. So that's how Vermont Yankee went. And the most surprising, the most disgusting thing I've seen out of the whole deal is it's really not related to an engineering a calculation of safety, which that nobody can understand, right? This is really on, as far as how does the paperwork system, what do you demand out of what quality do you demand out of the paperwork system? And the basic themes is that you, as an example, if you go from a type 1 to a type 2, the NRC, the utility, should request in paperwork, so all of the community can see it. Request that we be allowed to, put type 2 in there, and blah blah blah. This is the reason for it, and that type of stuff. And then the NRC, either disapproves it or approves it. And then that way there, you can hold everybody accountable if something goes wrong. If Vermont Yankee lies in the paperwork, or if the NRC plays peekaboo with problems and stuff, and hopefully then later either the legal system or the public at large could go back at those in the paperwork and hold the officials in Vermont Yankee accountable. And especially, huge consequences we're talking about here in numerous ways. So our legal system can hold people accountable, and the hopes are that people will understand down the line that if you fool around with documents and not being truthful, you're going to go to jail, and we're going to wreck your family and stuff. And that's basically what holds the system together. So that's what I was most concerned about here. I'm utterly astonished that the NRC didn't document. Energy didn't document that request to put in type 2 SRV. Probably the NRC don't ask us. Just put it in there, and if they get away with it, fine. And you should, and the NRC didn't, they weren't smart enough to figure out that they weren't asking the right questions, and SRVs, you're putting new SRVs in there. It's a big component, and it's a big, huge safety component. So, the NRC wasn't doing their due diligence as far as looking at the paperwork and talking to the vendor and calling up the vendor and all that sort of stuff, and everybody doing their job and discovering the poor quality SRVs and everybody documenting. You see, if you can't document, if it's not documented in a timely manner, then nobody can be held accountable for misdeeds and stuff. It's Wild West out there as far as if there's no documentations. Documentations is invaluable as the component itself, that it can do all its intended functions and stuff. So that's what was shocking. And what you're playing with is 20%, 23% of our electricity. You're playing with. That's what you're not doing this documentation right and stuff. You're playing around with threatening the quality of a utility, the stockholders. Their stock value, the ability of the debt holders to understand the risk that they're taking. and stuff, and you're talking about a utility could, if they are found to be incapable of telling the truth, then they're not going to be operating nuclear plants. And it could be a huge risk, a regional risk on power shortages. It could be a national issue, if the public at large and the legal system all of a sudden doesn't trust the NRC to administer the rules correctly, and keep the bad behaviors at bay, and stuff like that. So, I mean, these are huge consequences here. Unlikely or not likely, but if they happen, it'd be enormous, and stuff like that. And we're walking towards that way and stuff. And so all these officials, this is multi-organizational, NRC, from the employees at Vermont Yankee, Energy, you can bet our legislatures, and even Obama up there, as far as they're there to maintain the quality of the regulatory oversight and stuff like that. And if they're not doing our jobs, again, there could be some huge consequences that we would all have to face if the system spun out of control and we ended up with a damaged plant and a loss of credibility and stuff. And so that's what we've seen, out of the Target Rock is the manufacturer of the safety relief valve. Curtis Wright is the owner of Target Rock, right? So, so that's the setup here. And then in the background, we've had, tremendous issues of manufacturing in the United States and manufacturing repair parts for nuclear plants, and we've had all sorts of structuring in the industry, and a lot of the manufacturers and vendors of components no longer support the quality issues associated with nuclear power plants and stuff like that. So there's been a sea change of ownerships of companies like Target Rock, and the repair part streams aren't the same as they always were, and stuff. And we've had tremendous merger and acquisition type of activity in the last 20 years and stuff, and we're not building plants, and it's just you can't support. A lot of manufacturers don't want to support the requirements of nuclear power, and chances of getting sued if they do something wrong and stuff. So there's a general issue of maintaining the quality of repair parts nationwide and stuff. And so let's look at this. So Curtis Wright Flow Control Company owns Target Rock. And this is a interim Part 21 report. There's two interesting Part 21 interim reports coming out of Pilgrim plant. Astonishing implications industry-wide and stuff. And so Target Rock bellows manufactured by Target Rock. The nature of the defect to comply and the safety hazards which it created or could create by such a defect or failure to comply. During as-found steam testing on May 5th of a Pilgrim main steam supply safety valve model 09J001 assembly, valve assembly pilot number, a loud pop was heard and as found test was secured. Subsequently, the pilot valve was removed from the valve assembly and subject to a leak test and would not hold pressure. The pilot assembly was disassembled, and a visual inspection of the bellows convolutions revealed a through-wall crack in the convolutions. It is noted that the steam testing was performed at an off-site test facility, and did not fail installed at the plant. See, they're technically correct, but not fully correct. Not fully correct like you would expect out of a vendor who supplies nuclear power components to many nuclear plants, right? It's technically correct, but it's not. It is not the whole story, and it has very little value. The truth is that valve, which they probably took it out of the March, the February Nemo blizzard when they tripped off the plant, or when the plant tripped, and there was a leaking valve that caused an assortment of power restrictions just before the Nemo trip, because the SRVs were leaking and stuff. And so probably this pilot assembly came from that. They took it out of the plant. Right, the couple of valves, and they sent it to a test facility to figure out why they were leaking and stuff. And so that's where this valve came out of. And what is important is the valve was probably a year and a half old when you consider at least a year and a half of use. Who knows when they made it? But they put it in the plant new. It was about a year and a half. It's startling, much like Vermont Yankee. It's the same setup as Vermont Yankee. Brand new valves. In the first cycle they failed. Brand new valves even before the first refueling outage after the new valves were installed. They start repetitively fail. 2 shutdowns with 2 leaks, assortment of other leaks, and power restrictions. This was a disgusting disgrace. The whole last outage at the Pilgrim plant. So the valve came recently from Vermont Yankee. It was installed in a power operation, and the defect in the bellows could have burst while the plant was up in operation. They didn't catch this by a detailed inspection type of thing. They caught this during an unexpected failure, right? It was like playing the dogs, right? It was just gambling. There's no really thought process that caught this. There was no, we see corrosion on the bellows assembly, and we thoroughly inspected it, and blah, that's how we caught it. No, this is just luck. And it's luck that valve didn't go back in the plant, and it's luck. So within a couple of weeks it could have been in the plant, and a couple of weeks prior to it was in the plant. This bad bellows, and that should be raising the hairs on everybody's head, because you really don't know what the process is that caused this stuff. So that's something that you got to be careful of. This was a really close call, and it could be happening at other plants. The bellows acts as a pressure sensor responsible for initiating opening of the MS SRV at set pressure. Failure of the bellows does not directly impact the integrity of the reactor coolant system pressure boundary, which is maintained by the bonnet assembly that surrounds it, but does impair the ability of the SRV to provide overpressure protection of the reactor coolant system. They kind of couching this in special language. And this is a safety effect. That's why they're reporting it so soon, because it is a nuclear safety flaw, and it has the potential of causing grave consequences to a nuclear plant. This is the first reported incident regarding a through-wall bellows failure. Brand new valve, right? Exactly like Vermont Yankee. Brand new set of valves going in there, and failing and stuff. So they initiated a comprehensive root cause evaluation and pursued in different areas. So this Part 21 event date is 5/3 and 5/3, and it was just reported. So March 03 is they so-called this thing happened. They didn't get it out to the out to the industry until a few days ago. So okay, so could be a lot of things. Could be raw material, dimensional problems, cleaning, heat treatment, manufacturing process, testing, review of design stresses, preliminary material analysis of the failed bellows indicates crack forming in a intergranular manner, as everything is intergranular, you know. If you sneeze, it's caused by intergranular stress cracking corrosion. It's a catch-all phrase of the industry. They can't explain it, or they don't want to explain it. It's IGSCC. You know, it's just years of, you know, they call this a mature design, and it's been around forever and stuff. Why all of a sudden does bellows go bad, right? Why all of a sudden is Target Rock having problems with Vermont Yankee and Pilgrim with SRVs? And it goes much deeper than SRVs. So it occurred on March 5th. It was identified. So there's no, you know, this is a vital component of a nuclear power plant, and they still haven't nailed it as what caused it. That's what they're saying in this report. Any advice? This is a good one. Any advice related to the defect or failure to comply about the facility, activity, or basic component that has been or is being or will be given to the purchaser or the licensees. I guess that says there, just talk to the licensee, you know. That's kind of humorous. So we go down here, you know. This technology has an extensive history of reliability in nuclear power systems and has been used in commercial nuclear power plants since 1970s. Let me tell you something, you know, and the LER that we've yet talked about talks about, you know, the fallacy. They got all sorts of problems with these three-stage valves. When the LERs first came out, when the first LER came out on this, on the first scram, you know, they said that there was no, there was issues in other design, but there was no issues with the three-stage target valves like this, and that was a blatant lie and stuff. So that's what I'm saying. They get to say what they want without any anchorage to the truth and stuff like that. So they did find a lot of issues with three-stage. They had a lot of issues with two-stage valves. They had a lot of issues with starting up with new valves and it leaking, just like Pilgrim did here and stuff. And so you know, this thing has been simmering in the background for many years as far as failures of target rock, three-stage safety relief valves. And you know it's not going to end up good if, just this idea that the whole system can't, figure out this is important and solve it immediately, more or less, unless this drag on for years on end without factors that cause this type of thing is mind-boggling. They know what's wrong with it, but they just seem to be able not to solve it for some reason or other. A complete review of our paperwork confirms all manufacturing procedures and processes were performed in accordance with the requirements. These include, them are lawyers talking right there, bad pals. So you see, there's been issues with out in the industry recently where utilities have sued the contractors, the makers of valves like this, and they won a lot of money and stuff. And so that's always on the back of the minds of a company like Target Rock. If they get a lot of money for these components, nuclear grade safety valves. Everybody knows the risk associated with that, so they're very expensive, probably cheap to make, and so Limerick has 28 of these valves installed, three-stage type SRVs installed in 1999. Pilgrim has 4 three-stage, according to Target Rock, and it was installed in 2011. And Fitzpatrick plant has 3, and it was installed in 2011. So, that sums it up with what's been going on. This is this is a problem that many organizations, energy, the NRC, our legislature, and the executive branch has just let fester and stuff, and we keep happy landing it. We keep putting our best dance forward and stuff like that, and we're not dealing with it. We just keep thinking of bigger and better excuses to ignore these things, and it's going to end in a bad way and stuff. It's going to end in a bad way. Whether we have a meltdown is one thing. Whether utility operates in such a reckless manner that the community can no longer stand it, can no longer stand the bullshit, the bullshit and dance that these utilities do. Maybe one plant might go down. Maybe a whole host of plants could find out that they did this over here in Plymouth. Who wants to take a chance of allowing these guys to operate over in Fitzwilliam land or what have you? See what I'm saying? There's a lot of risk involved here, and nobody wants to deal with nobody wants to put the risk up in front of their face and say, can you really stand to keep behaving like this with all this risk in front of you for an association of people and systems? Okay, so this is most recent. This is on the second. This is LER on the second second safety relief valve that failed at the shutdown, and this is to do with the second shutdown. They took the valves out, and some of them, who knows how many. And stuff, and they talked about a couple of. They talk about the Nemo trip, and they took some valves out there. This is many people think I forced them to. I wrote my 2.206 out there 2 weeks And 2 weeks later, they completed this LER, and then it took another month to get out and stuff like that. But everybody says that the reason why they're doing this is because you threatened them with Representative Markey watching over them, and so they decided to get the dirty truth out and stuff. And so this happened on, the event date is January 20th, 2013. You see how long it takes for an LER to get out, and an LER is structured like this. It's not a 30-day deal, right? It's not 30 days from the day that it happened, or 60 days from the day that it happens, and tell us all you know. They're not required to do that. Like this guy here was it took them 3 months, 2 months to the date it happened was January 20th. The report date. This is the date that they reported. They decided that they had a event on the 20th. It took them until 3/21 and stuff. And so, what is most interesting on this is all right. So on May 18, 2001 and November 25th, 2000. May 18th, 2011 and November 25th, 2011. Okay, I gotta get on my timeline. Sorry, my timeline. Sorry. Should have had this on up before. I did this thing already once and I screwed up on my computer, so I have to do it again. So anyways, May and November 2001, 2011. Probably shouldn't do this because I'm tired. May. All right. I mean, this is hilarious. I'd like to know what the price is. How much did they cost? How much did these valves cost from Target Rock? I bet you they cost quite a bit. Oh no. All right. Wow. All right, so brand new valves, expensive valves. April, May 2011 is when the new valves were installed. Probably May, middle of May, or beginning of May, they were installed. Look at when they first had their first leak. Their first leak happened on May 18th. Them guys weren't even in there 2 weeks. And they had the first indication of a leak there. Brand new valves. And they had the first leak. And they probably opened it up and shut it, and it lasted until November 25th, and they had another leak. The 3C second stage pilot valve had minor leakage was observed. And I don't know, first stage leak, second stage leak, and all that sort of stuff. They all play with, the valve leak. Yes. Did it have first stage leaks? No, but they had a ton of second stage leaks. They play with the complexity of these things, and they give you the wrong impression of what's going on here. So, the April, May 2001, 2011, they started up. Within 2 weeks, they had a May 18th leak, and then another leak on November 25th, and then December. Then a month after that, they had a December 26th shutdown. Right. They were required to shut down. It's just amazing and stuff. And so then you again, it's just amazing. I cannot get over it and stuff. And so along with that, along with the leak, let's see, what's this? The 3B, what is the 3B? The 3B had first stage leak, right? On February 3rd. All right, so the 3B had a first stage leak. There was a power restriction to 80%, and the pilot receded probably either the pressure or they opened it up and shut it and stuff. And then, thank God, the Nemo blizzard struck and they lost power, and that's when they replaced that guy. And along with that was that the pressure set point of the relief was minus 3%, minus 3.8%. In other words, it's supposed to. A lot of these valves are required to be accurate to plus or minus 1%. In this case, Pilgrim was required to be plus or minus 8%, 3.8% accurate. And I'm sorry, Pilgrim was required to be plus or minus 3% accurate, these valves. And if they go past 3.8 or 3.0, I'm tired, they're required to be shut down within 24 hours, right? You know, the deal is they really can't detect the inaccuracy. They're required to be shut down if a valve is greater than plus or minus 3%. But, you know, you really can't tell. It's behind, you know, like I told you guys all, this is one of the most dangerous components there is in a nuclear plant, because it's hidden behind 3 feet of concrete, and you can't look at these valves at power. And you just got them to 4 valves and stuff. And so there's no way, and they're primitively monitored and that type of thing. They're dangerous as hell. They've been implicated in a lot of accidents. So, you know, every time you get a, you know, first stage relief, first stage leak, it can happen really quick. Immediately that valve will go to greater than plus or minus 3% and be required to shut down and stuff. So any kind of leak in these valves, I'd make the case that you know, they should have done a study on this. All the relief valves they've had in the industry, 3-stage safety relief valves, and there's a ton of them. I'm sure they have the evidence, the documents there some way, or they don't have the documents because they don't want to give notice to the industry that there's these kind of indications going on, and you know, we don't want you shutting down, even though you're really required to be shut down. But if you took all the valves and you know, made a list of all the first stage, second, you know, the time, there should be something. Every freaking 3-stage relief valve, you know, should be, there should be a list somewhere where how they, you know, what point in their life did they fail, or what point of the refueling did they fail, you know, the complete data list of all the failures and the leaking of these safety relief valves. And it should be public information, but it isn't and stuff. So, you know, as I said, there's like 6 or 7 leaks, and I would, and this one valve they found it outside the relief valve lift set point of plus or minus 3%. So, and it requires an immediate shutdown within 24 hours. So every leaking valve there has the potential of, has the direct, immediate potential of not meeting its relief valve lift set point, and the only safe thing is to shut it down and fix the valve at the, you know, at the earliest opportunity and stuff within a few days, and stuff. So that's there, and so that's the only safe way to operate with these things. And if you made them pay a price like that, you can bet your ass they'll find out they'll put a lot of effort into figuring out why these are leaking like that, and it would never happen again, because everybody paid and they talk about, well, is it just a chance of it failing to reclose? Some plants have opened up because of a different set of leaks and stuff like that. And so, remember I told you there's been no leaks in three-stage relief valves. That's the outright lie. Just like the outright lie, without a doubt, is there was the first LER said there was no leaks, previous leaks in the three-stage relief valves at Pilgrim. And of course, this LER contradicts that and says there was 2 leaks, one within a week of operating, and one in November, a month before they were required to shut down because the valve was leaking and stuff. So and so here during the industry has experienced numerous instances where SRV leakages occurred at other plants other than Target Rock Model 3-stage relief valves. And then it goes on, listen to that sentence. The industry has experienced numerous instances where SRV leakages has occurred at other plants with other than Target Rock 3-stage relief valves. So the very first item that says 3-stage safety relief valve pilot leakage just below normal operating pressure. The plant hatch installed the same model SRV units in Unit 3 in April 2011. The same time. Hatch experienced numerous pilot valve leaks during 2011. In some occasions, leakage was reduced by power and a pressure reduction. Hatch 2 had some success through power and pressure reduction and operating for several months after receiving the pilot valve leak through power and pressure reductions. So the message there is, that first sentence, other than 3. See how tricky these words are? These are engineers with, probably from good colleges, because they wouldn't accept them from secondary colleges and stuff, and probably advanced degrees, at least the bosses do, and stuff. And see how they set this up? The first sentence of the problems is we don't have any, they've had many leaks at other valves other than a 3-stage release. And it talks about hatch. Then it talks about OE26394 planned shutdown due to 3-stage valve leaks, peach bottom, safety relief temperature phenomena. That's what they call it at Fitzpatrick. Target Rock misalignment at Limerick 2. Plant shutdown during increased tailpipe temperatures at Dwayne Arnold. That's Vermont Yankee's sister, identical sister. So you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of garbage components that gone into these SRVs. They've had unexplained failures throughout the industry with these 3-stage, these 3-stage mature design valves. Terrible, reliability issues costing untold millions of dollars of like plants at Pilgrim and what is it? $500,000, $1 million a day you lose per day when you're in a shutdown, like Pilgrim has been in and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of crap components in these valves as far as what's causing this. A lot of, I don't know where they're getting their components from, or the valves from, or the springs from, whatever's causing this, or the metal that makes the thing. They're just getting a lot of junk in there, and they can't maintain the quality standards of all the materials that go into these valves, and that's what's doing it. And I don't know why. I mean, you know, they don't back out of Target Rock. You know, so you know, that's a garbage company. So why are we doing business with Target Rock? You know, and so you know, and go to somebody else that's much more. Other than there's no manufacturers out there that wants to take a risk. They don't make enough money on relief valves for the nuclear industry and stuff, and they don't make enough money, and there's too much risk of them getting sued if they lose a lot of money and stuff. And so why bother? And so that's why you're stuck with a company like Target Rock and stuff. And so, okay, that's the LE. There's a lot more, believe me, with the LERs. And other than, I'll just say it again, LERs are comic books. They're designed to deceive the NRC and the utilities. Think of them as comic books. They look at them and hilariously laugh. They're so inaccurately. So they're so maliciously inaccurate and falsified and stuff. I mean, this, besides being inaccurate to us, they're inaccurate to themselves, and being this falsifying federal documents destroys the culture of a plant, because, you know, some employees, they all probably know most of what's going on here, and, you know, some people play the lying game in order to get promoted. Some people will just tell the truth and they'll pay the price and not get promoted, and that type of thing. And it sets up you know, the good guys against the bad, and next thing you know, there's a war going on where one side's trying to take each other out with breaking rules, and it devolves into a jungle, and everybody's got weapon of career destructions flying around the plant and stuff. It's pretty bad. It could get pretty bad when you are not honest, when you fill out falsified documents and you tell lies to the NRC. It destroys the culture of the plant. And so we gotta go look at one more thing here, and I'm done for today. Oh man. Sorry. So in daily, you go to the event reports, the daily, and then we're going to go down to the part 21 report, part 21 reports, right? So here, right at the top, right? Both issued on March. This is kind of humorous. Both issued on March 3rd, 2013. So we talked about the relief valve, right? The relief valve, the safety relief valve, the Curtiss-Wright Flow Corporation's Target Rock. Let's throw you a zinger. So one right after another, both issued these. Both Part 21s were both issued at the same time, right? So let's take a look at this. Insufficient process control on pump impeller. I mean, it's kind of. How about, you know, on reactor coolant pump impeller, right? This is not just an impeller. This is a reactor coolant pump that keeps the flow going around the reactor, the cooler reactor. Curtiss-Wright on January 13th completed final testing on AP1000 reactor coolant pump serial number part blah 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 Rev 4, which contained a sand cast impeller cat by Williston Alloy of Braintree, Mass. Go Boston. Where it was discovered for inspection, where it was disassembled for inspection, it was discovered a piece of an impeller blade. It discovered that a piece of an impeller blade approximately 3 inches by 2.5 inches had separated from the main impeller casting. The separated piece was the leading edge of one blade and is subsequently recovered intact from the pump test loop. Right? So they were testing it in a loop, the final test. AP 1000, they're talking new, these guys are the new ones being built down south in Republican land. I hate the government land, and I hate any regulation that was ever invented by the government. And this incident was investigated as a significant condition adverse to quality with the potential to create a substantial safety hazard, but was deemed to be non-reportable instance. All the casts were either in CWEMD control or exported to customers in the People's Republic of screw the Chinese, screw those goddamn Chinese, or exported to customers in People's Republic of China. It was deemed to not be reportable because it was in another. It was probably in another country's reactor coolant pump. It's our customers and the Chinese customers and regulatories were kept informed as the investigation progressed and the root cause was identified. The physical cause of the failure was most likely due to the flaw present in both the cast material and the weld overlay applied to the impeller blade. The original flaw was most likely a consequence of tensile overload failure due to cooling stresses induced by the welding process. Subsequent repairs were insufficient in remediating the original flaw, which went undetected. So with these guys, I don't know, they had a flaw in the impeller, and they're too cheap to throw that impeller out and get another one out of the casting thing, and start with, well, I suppose it was undetected, wink wink. And so then they welded it, right? They welded that impeller, the flaw out and stuff. I mean, this is the kind of stuff you get from Walmart, as far as all these flaws. And remember, I'm telling you, all these, the sense that this Boston firm is running uncontested, unafraid of the NRC or the government as far as maintaining standards and codes with nuclear plants, wrecking the credibility of the United States being a credible supplier of parts to the People's Republic of China and stuff. Probably the biggest new market for nuclear power plants that the world has seen and stuff like that. So the potential of this is unlimited. But here they go, the casting's bad, not kept in control, and it's awful. It's this thing of nowadays, like I was saying, merger and acquisitions and all that sort of stuff. There's been a revolution in the companies in the United States, right? Manufacturing has gone in steep decline, and most of that stuff has gone overseas, and then we've had the financial issues and merger and acquisitions, and guys betting money on different companies and either buying them out or selling them and all that sort of stuff. And most of the plants in the United States today are having trouble getting, especially if they're old, they're all old. There's a few newer ones, but they're mostly all old, and most of the lines, even if the company is still around, they no longer carry those lines of components anymore and stuff. A lot of times they have to re-engineer it, or what do they call it? They pay a company to retro engineer or make an identical pump component and stuff like that. And now, in the old days, it was company controlled, the selling the part and making the part, and it was in their facilities under their direct control. Nowadays, everybody, the big dogs, they don't make parts. They're all nothing but traders and crap, and and they give it to other facilities, and they don't have the ability to know what's going on. They don't spend enough money in monitoring these other companies and stuff like that. They depend upon these other companies to do their own QA and inspections and stuff like that. Off at a distance where they can't be seen and stuff like that. Not on site where their reputations would if it was within the company, then the whole company's reputation goes to hell. So a company would tend to want to maintain their credibility and reputation, so that they would if they're purchasing a part from another company, then there's that excuse. Well, they made the company. Another company sold it to us, and they have the responsibility to do the engineering and all that sort of stuff. And so we're talking old world, where in the days the eons ago, when they were building these plants, the mainstay company controlled all the processes of their building, designing, and marketing all their parts and stuff like that. And nowadays, you got this stuff where they're all traders, and the parts come from foreign sources, and everybody's just going to the cheapest, usually wage countries and all that sort of stuff. And if China's not cheap enough, then we'll get another country that's even cheaper than China, and that type of stuff. So give you some ideas what's going on here. An investigator described in the background identifies the following deficiencies in Wollaston's Alloy Incorporated. Insufficient filler material control as evidenced by mismatched filler material, identified weld overlays on separated impeller pieces that they welded together. Insufficient weld process control is evidenced by indications of an unapproved welding process identified by the investigators. Insufficient pass down on contract requirements to shop floor operations as evidenced by more than one post weld heat transfer cycle used on the impeller, which only one post weld heat treatment was authorized by contract documents. So they had two. Penetrant examination by Wells did not identify surface flaws in the casting for impeller ports. Goddamn Chinese. 2021. However, using Wollaston procedure, EMD was able to identify flaws that were depositioned as unacceptable. This is crap engineering. Sounds like they're giving the impeller casting job to the lowest bidder, right? And it happens to be American in Boston. Updated records submitted using identical record numbers with no indication of corrected annotated on the record. Incomplete records packages submitted to EMD with product and no apparent mechanism to ensure all records are included or delivered. And this goes on and on and on, on and on and on. So you get the, so like I say, Target Rock has very little control over the components that they get for their products. This is my understanding of it. Between Vermont Yankee threaded seal, SRV threaded seals, the issues with safety relief, the nationwide issues with safety relief valve leakage on brand new valves and stuff like that. Who knows what these guys are vendoring out to companies distant to themselves, and they have no control over the QA the QA processes or the processes in themselves. They don't have any on-site inspectors continually watching these guys, and so the Target Rock is a crap company, as Curtis Wright, and they're not careful of all the components that they bring onto a component like the safety relief valves. There's no controls like the old days where the component was made in the company, and some department of the company, and stuff like that. This is like you know, what they do in China actually. You know, contract it out 2 or 3 times before they finally get to the right one, and this thing with reactor coolant pump business and all the defects in this stuff. This is like little league stuff. This is not nuclear engineers, nuclear qualified company and stuff like that. It's horrendous. The defects that was going on here and stuff like that. So that, you know, so that's the nature of the business with SRV, Pilgrim's SRV and stuff. And you can see it through multiple examples. Pilgrim, Peach Bottom, Vermont Yankee, assortment of customers, including Pilgrim, with leaking safety relief valves. It's a crap company. They give crap components and materials out to the nuclear power plants, and it's a disgrace. Multi-organizational failure. What I'm saying is that, you know, President Obama, the legislatures, Congress, and the Senate, you know, they're not maintaining control over the NRC. Really, they, you know, they're just like Target Rock with this Boston company. They maintain no direct contact with the independent NRC, and they let the NRC do what they please and stuff like that. Nobody nobody is overseer of the NRC and stuff like that, because it's called political protection. That's how the utilities have paid off Congress and the Obama guy, you know, and that's the nature of the regulation. Is you make an independent regulator that is unaccountable to the political system, and is unaccountable to the public at large, and it is you know, the legislature has a habit of not wanting to understand what's going on in the nuclear industry. The legislature is flying blind with what's going on, and the NRC is, you know, they're making choices that are corrupt, and they're creating an environment where they're hiding stuff. Right? What keeps this thing going is the ability of the NRC to hide these problems and stuff, and it keeps a good image on the industry, or, you know, as good as you could get an image on the industry, and underneath it all is a lot of lies and Machiavellian spinning and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, it doesn't end in a good. This thing doesn't end in a good way. It is not ending in a good way and stuff. And so, you know, that's my take on, you know, basically why I was harassed at the 2.206 business, because they understand, you know, I might not be a great talker and all that sort of stuff, but I get the flavor of what's going on here. I understand the systems underneath it, and how these companies operate, and that type of stuff, and you know, it gives me an ability a lot of times to predict how things will occur in the outcome and stuff. And so, yeah, everybody should know that, you know, from Vermont Yankee, I've kept up on the threaded seal business and realized the implications. You know, this doesn't make sense why they would put in a type 2. This doesn't make sense why it wasn't in the records before it was put into the plant. This doesn't make sense why the NRC doesn't really understand the necessity of having the utility ask permission, and then the utility giving permission, and putting everybody, make everybody accountable to the paperwork. If something goes wrong, then you look up the records, and then you can start firing and putting people in jail and stuff like that. And if you have this make-believe system where nothing gets recorded and stuff like that, you understand we're in big trouble if that's the world they create. And if energy could you know, lie in LERs. I mean, this is what's going on here. They're falsifying LERs, and the NRC is accepting it. and stuff like that. You mean, if you're an employee in these plants and all this stuff is going on, it makes it really hard for the honest guys to survive. It makes it hard for the guys, the poor bastards that are lying their teeth off, because they're worrying about getting caught, and they all know that they can lie. All it takes, they can lie and that stuff for 20 times easily in a row, and it really doesn't matter. And it's the one time they get caught that worries these guys and stuff. And so, I mean, it's up to you guys. I've talked a lot about this, and I've given fair warning, and I've tried to explain what's going on in the systems wide deal here. And and if I've done my job as far as explain what the problem is, what I see, and how you can fix it. And so, if the world goes to shit as far as large consequences here, I know at least I got a little bit whiter, a purer soul than the rest of all you people. I'm not saying I'm going to be without fault here. I'm saying that I'm going to be cleaner than the whole rest of the system and stuff. So, Mike Mulligan here, and thank you for listening to me.